So speaking of staying in momentum, we need to talk about why the heck do you want to do that? And the reason why I'm coming to speak to you guys today is to talk about your why. Talk about your why. How many of you have a written why statement as of now published on your Teamsy dashboard? A couple of you. Okay, good. Great. All right, good. So that's a great start. That's more than I expected. So that's excellent. So I want to talk to you guys about this because this is super important. I'll pull up some slides here in a second, but here's the bottom line, which is that people join the business, they're excited to join the business, and then they fizzle out and quit. It happens all the time. Happens all the time. And when Beck and I started talking, it was, okay, so the first thing we need to do with people when they get excited, they're excited, is give them a plan, a purpose, and get them into action, right? And that's what we were doing with our Kickstart program, is plan a purpose, get you guys into action. But what keeps people around is knowing their why. And if you don't have a deep why, something that pushes and moves you, you'll end up quitting. And I've just seen it a million times, you know, and a lot of times we'll join the business to make some extra money or just because we love the products, but that's not a deep enough reason to persist through challenges. Does this make sense? So we need to go deeper. This needs to be a process. I would say at least an annual process that we're going to go through right now. As a serious business owner, you need to take some time every year and do this. I recommend November is a great time to do this every year. People do it in January. The year's already started. You've already lost the whole momentum of a quarter. So November. So here in the States, we have Thanksgiving at the third week of November. So we take a time to basically eat a lot of food and reflect on what we're grateful for. It's an excellent time to write goals, touch your why. Sorry, I still shake you off the sleepy cobwebs, and really get planning for the year, if that makes sense. And then you go into the holiday season, the Christmas season, confident in what you're going to achieve. You already start working on them. Even if you're like, no, I'm just going to take holiday, your mind is now set, your heart is set, and you'll see that you're moving in the direction of your goals before the Christmas holidays. So by New Year's, you're like in full momentum towards what you want. Does this make sense? Okay. All right, you guys, let's actually share the screen. I did prepare a presentation. I'm not just going to talk. Sometimes though, I think when I just come on and talk, you get the best stuff. Okay, here we go. So how to uncover your why. Okay, here we go. I don't know if I need to do this about me thing. Let's just go through it quick. I help business owners build successful relationship-based businesses. I've been a professional business coach for 20 years. Trained a lot of people doing this stuff, which is great. Founder of Teamsy, wrote the book Power Hour Boss. Okay, and my name's Eric. Oh, one thing I need to do, hold on one second, is I am going to make you back the...
So you can't watch it on yours. Go to mine.
I'm going to make you co-host back so you can be in control of stuff too while I'm doing this.
What's wrong?
You was not. You was.
Okay. We have regained control of the mothership. Here we go. Perfect. So Beck, if people pop into the waiting room, you can let them in now. Okay, so, and of course, you know, you guys all know this stuff. Teamsy gets great results, 21 customers, 9 recruits over 90 days, average users, great. You don't have to put those slides in all my presentations. Okay, so let's review a little bit what we talked about right before we started Kickstart, which is there's only one way to be successful in direct sales. There's only one way to be successful in direct sales, and that's to be in momentum. Do you guys remember this? Yes. Slow and steady holds you in place, doesn't win the race. Slow and steady holds you in place. We got to get into momentum, and that's what we've been working on for the past couple of weeks, is getting you into momentum. Now, just a reminder, momentum is actually 4 activities for you to be doing daily, which is creating new conversations, okay? Continuing those conversations in the direction of a share, sharing consistently, and following up on shares, right? Those are our 4 activities that we need to be doing consistently to be in momentum. How many of you guys feel like you started to get there with the kickstart? Great. So now the important thing is to keep going into momentum. Keep going into momentum. Okay. Keep doing the things that you're doing. And if you now get busy, you've got a lot of chats going and you're like, oh my gosh, all these people responded to me. I can't believe it. Don't succumb to the temptation to stop creating new conversations because you're feeling busy. If you're feeling overwhelmed with conversations, go down to just a couple of new ones a day, but don't stop. Don't take your foot off the gas or you will fall out of momentum. Did I tell you guys the story of my first power hour where I messaged 43 people and they all responded? And I was like, oh my gosh, they all responded. I thought I was going to get, 40% response. I got 100% response. And I was suddenly in 43 chats. So this is exactly what I did. I did not create new conversations for a month. I worked those 43 conversations. I had a huge month. I got a personal handwritten card from the CEO of the company congratulating me on my big month. And the next month I had to start over because I stopped creating new conversations. And that, well, I mean, there's no nice way to say it. That sucks, starting over. I was just, we have a situation here in the States. I'm sure it's affecting you guys too, where it's like our gas prices are through the roof. It's like 75 years high, right? And where I live in California, gas is up, I don't know, 400% the price over 2 years ago. And so everybody's like, doing all these crazy things to save gas. You see people driving like really slow on the roads. And you're like, just get out of the road if you don't want to use your gas, but everyone's going super slow. But I see these people doing this, you use the most gas when you start from a stop, right? So when there's a red traffic light, you see people like, they're just rolling. The car's like rolling 2 miles an hour, just rolling. And you can see them hoping it's going to turn green before they have to stop. And they're just kind of rolling and then it turns green and they go. And the truth is that saves a ton of gas because that's where you use most of your gas is starting from a stop, right? But the point is not just to make fun of these folks who are really trying to be thrifty. The point is that's true in our business too, is it takes the most energy to start from a stop, right? And so what we want to do is keep going, even if it's slowly, we want to keep it going. Okay. So there's our review. Also, remember to create momentum. We need to be doing our daily power hour and we need to do our daily power hour consistently. That's it. Daily power hour consistently. How many of you have now gotten to the point where you schedule that power hour as an appointment in your calendar? Got a couple nods. Okay, good. So this is what I always recommend is you schedule it as an appointment in your calendar with the most important person, which is you, right? I know I'm constantly telling you what's about being others focused. It's about serving others. It's about loving people, but you still have, this is your self-care, is taking the time, putting in your calendar that you're going to get the work done that you need to do to advance your goals and your why and your dreams and everything. Do you see my mug today? I picked for you guys at 2:30 in the morning, my time, dreamer. Not because I'm asleep, but because I've got big dreams. Do you guys have big dreams? Do people laugh at you for your dreams? Are there people in your life who, yeah, that's good. Yes. Okay. Because if they're not laughing at your dreams, they're not big enough, right? It's got to be something that blows the small minds around you. Okay. So you get this daily power hour, do it consistently. But the challenge to doing it consistently are our predators. Again, this is just review. It's going to lead us to our why. Don't worry. We are going somewhere with a purpose. Many people don't get into this because it's time consuming. It's hard to get organized. They don't know what to do, who to reach out to, what to say, how many people, etc. And that's why we built Teamsy, to answer all those questions, to take away that fear and thinking, just let you go. Okay. Some people also struggle with being consistent. I think that probably describes 100% of the folks on this call tonight, yeah, it is tonight. It's hard to be consistent. Life gets in the way. We don't always feel like it. I don't know about you guys, but that was my number one predator. I didn't always feel like it. Sometimes I just didn't feel like doing it. Have you guys experienced this? Not seeing big results yet, so why bother? Can I even do this? So these are predators that come up, and there's several solutions to being consistent. And the number one is knowing your why, which is why we're here tonight. Number two, number three, number four, these are all things that we worked on with our Kickstart: getting inspired, accountability, outside encouragement, motivation, right? So the Kickstart, we gave you guys a framework for 2, 3, and 4. Tonight, we're going to come back and touch on number one, which is knowing your why, right? So you can get into momentum for 2 weeks, no problem. But if we're going to keep you there, if we're going to help you sustain that momentum, we've got to get into your why. Okay. So let's talk about it. Let's talk about it. For those of you who struggle with this kind of thing, I'm with you. For some, I consider myself a personal growth junkie. It's probably not a positive term, but but I am. I love personal growth, but I also hate it. Anybody like that? Like, it's really uncomfortable for me. It's funny. My 12-year-old son, we were, coming back from church. He's 12. So he just went from the elementary school, grammar school group to the middle school group at church. Right. And I asked him, I said, how was it? And he said, it was good. He's like, we did this icebreaker exercise. I'm like, say no more. I hate icebreaker exercises. He's like, really? I go, no. I said, I understand why they do it and why it's valuable. You guys get to know each other. It opens up the conversation. But even as an adult, I can't stand that stuff. Like, it's really uncomfortable for me. Does anyone relate to this stuff? So, and some of this personal growth stuff is the same way. It's like, I got to dig into like my inner psyche. It's like, I don't want to do this, especially with other people, right? And so I want you guys to know that even the people that teach personal growth, they feel the same way. It's uncomfortable. Growth is getting out of the comfort zone, right? Growth is getting out of the comfort zone. But the result is stretching your comfort zone to a new comfort zone. And every time you stretch it, you grow, right? It's kind of like working out. You lift weights and literally damage your muscles so that they can grow stronger when they heal. And so that's kind of the growth process too. So for those of you guys who are like, here we go, I'm with you. Let's just do it together. And at the end, we'll be stronger for it and we'll feel more confident. Make sense? Okay. Goals are what you want. Goals are what you want. Your why is the emotion behind those goals. Okay, it's the emotion behind the goals. I like to say it's the gut-wrenching, life or death, joy or sorrow, passionate emotions that will get you up in the morning ready to attack and win your day. I know maybe it's a little dramatic, but it needs to be dramatic. It needs to be dramatic because there's lots of days where you don't feel like doing it. Your why has to drive you through that. Does that make sense? It has to be. It has to feel like life or death. And if you don't have a why like that, then I'm glad you're here tonight because we need to go a little deeper. Okay, we need to go a little deeper. Goals are meaningless if you don't get beyond the materialistic and uncover your emotional why. Okay, goals are meaningless if you don't get beyond the materialistic and uncover your emotional why. You guys, just a little side note about goals. How many of you have a goal as a car, like a new car as one of your goals? I know it's a common one. So I'll just share with you a story. Like since I can remember, I always wanted a Mustang. I mean, like a little kid, I wanted a Mustang. I went to this little kindergarten when I was 5, and it was on a very busy road. And I used to just look out the windows. They had me aimed at this street. I could look out the windows at the cars going by and I just watch the Mustangs go by. I always wanted a Mustang, right? So when I was finally in a position to buy myself a Mustang, it was like the most emotional experience. And everyone's like, it's not that nice a car, dude. It's a Mustang. I'm like, no, you don't understand. This is this is my car. And that was 21 years ago. I still have it. I'll always keep that car, right? And it's like my baby, this car. I think it's a classic now. Somebody actually, random story. I was at the motor vehicles department yesterday, and an older gentleman told me I can register it as a classic now and save myself a ton of money, and it exempts it from smog laws and stuff. But my Mustang actually had a little mishap about 4 months ago. The motor blew on it. Needs a new motor, and so it became worthless suddenly. And my wife's like, what are you going to do with it? And I said, what do you mean? I'm going to put it in the garage. And now I can really put a giant engine in it and nerd out on my Mustang. The point is that Mustang is no longer a material thing that has a lot of value. It's an emotional thing, right? It became an emotional thing. It became a symbol of me achieving my first set of big boy grown-up goals. So I just use the story, it just popped in my head. It's like this whole idea of like, you've got a material goal. I want something nice, but why? Right? What's behind it? It's a convertible too, and I live in San Diego. I mean, come on, top down. All right. 1 out of 2 people in this industry will quit within the first year. This is a known statistic. 1 out of 2 people in this industry will quit within their first year. I don't even track the stats for year 2 and 3 and 4 because it would just be really sad, depressing talk, right? Why are people quitting when the opportunity is so great, right? Why are people quitting? And you guys know why. I don't have to keep beating it. They quit because they don't know why they should persist. And if you guys don't pause to uncover your why, you'll most likely quit too. There's a few of you for sure in this group who are considering it right now. Okay, considering it right now. So let's start with some questions to get you in the right frame of mind. Okay, some questions to get you in the right frame of mind. And again, not to be overly dramatic, but that's where I like to go. First question, and again, you don't have to answer these. I mean, if you're taking notes, you can write down some thoughts, but what do you believe in so strongly you would never compromise it? What do you believe in so strongly you would never compromise it? Hold on, let me just let this person in real quick. Okay, so that's the first question. What do you believe in so strongly you'd never compromise it? Number 2, or the next question to get us in the frame of mind. Who or what would you put yourself in harm's way to defend? Who or what would you put yourself in harm's way to defend? I think probably these, with all we've been through with the whole COVID mania and all that stuff, like these are probably easier to answer than they were even 3 years ago. I think we already understand, a lot of us, because we've been kind of brought to that precipice in our lives, like how we would respond. Okay, next question. Who or what would you die for? Who or what would you die for? Okay, so you're like, man, Beck, this guy's bringing us to deep, dark places today. It's okay. We have to go there, you guys, because your life is at stake. It really is. And what you're going to do with your life is at stake. Does this make sense? Okay, so if you guys, how many of you thought of somebody or something that you would die for if you needed to? Okay, so then the important question I think I need to ask on the flip side of that is, if there's someone or something you would die for, what will you do to live for them? What will you do to live for them? I mean, really live, not just exist. And I think this is the important question, because sometimes it's easy for us to go like, yeah, like I'm a parent. How many of you are parents? I mean, you know, I've got kids. I would do anything for my kids. For sure. Would I give my life to protect my kids? Absolutely. Great. Then if you're willing to die for your kids, then what are you willing to do to live for them? And I think this is, this is a question that people don't ask themselves. They just go through life, right? But we need to do more than go through life. We're made to be magnificent. We're made to be magnificent. Just keep that in mind, you guys. That's what we were made to be, is magnificent. Okay, so here's some questions to ask yourself to go through this process. I want you guys to take this down tonight for yourself. Tonight, is it tonight? Yeah, it is tonight. I'm confused. Tonight for yourselves. And then I want you to be able to lead new people through these questions, help them uncover their why, just as I'm going to do with you tonight. Does this make sense? So I don't want you I want you guys to learn this process. So as leaders, you can lead new people through this process. These questions, by the way, that I'm going to ask you are in Teamsy. If you go and click on my why on the bottom left of your dashboard, it'll bring these questions up. So you can self-do that, self-lead yourself through this, or you can walk a new person through it. It's super important that every person you bring onto the team comes through this process. If they're serious about building the business, even as a side hustle, if they say, yeah, I want to build a business, say, great, let's talk about your why. Okay. It's super important because otherwise they'll end up quitting. So let's go through these questions. The first one is, why did you join the business? Why did you join the business? Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to answer these questions as myself 7 years ago, just as an example. Okay, so obviously I'm not you. We have different lives, different priorities, but just so you kind of have an idea of how this process goes. So why did you join this business? Me personally, I found some products that really helped me. I lost a bunch of weight. I was feeling great. People were saying, Eric, what are you doing? And I was sharing them all the time. I was not a distributor. I was just sharing the products, telling people about them. It was my wife who kind of gave me a smack in the head and said, hey, go be a distributor. You're already sharing the products, So I signed up just because it made sense. I really loved I really loved the company. I loved the products and I was sharing them naturally. So it made sense for me to become a distributor. Hold on, let me let Emily in real quick. Okay. Next question. What did you hope to accomplish? What did you hope to accomplish? When I signed up, I wanted to make $500 a month extra money. Can anyone relate to that? So I remember being asked this question and I said, yeah, I just want to make some extra money. It's not a deep why, it wasn't a deep motivation, but it was true enough. I wanted to make some extra money. Okay. Now, if I had stopped here, I probably would have quit because extra is not necessary. It's easy to give up, right? But I did go deeper in this process and ask myself the next question. Why is accomplishing that important to you? Why is accomplishing that important to you? And when you guys bring a new person on and they say, well, I need to make some extra money. How much extra money? They'll give you a number. They will always give you a number. And always ask them, why? Why that number? What is it about that number? Because they probably haven't stopped to pause. They haven't paused to think about it themselves. And for me, that $500 a month. So there's a story to it. All right, let me take a sip of my coffee. Break my Juice Plus capsules into it. Wake me up. Okay. Have you guys ever accidentally broken one? Like they actually taste pretty good. It's kind of like a salty bite of kale or something. Okay, so I digress. So for me, I wanted $500 a month. Why? Okay, so here's the backstory. I had been working for this consulting company. Let's see, at this point, it had been almost 10 years and I had worked my way up to the top. Like it had been a really great career. Every year I got promoted. I just felt great. I had a confidence in my walk. I felt like I was in a really great position. Things were awesome. Right. And I loved it. I met my wife there, and she used to joke about how when she met me, I was more of a persona than a person. I just really loved my job. I loved my company. I loved my clients. It felt great. And I was making pretty good money. And when Lisa and I got married, I had a good salary with the good benefits. And so we had this thing set up on our bank account that every single month, as soon as my paycheck came in, it automatically sent $500 to our savings account, right? Just auto transfer, everything auto transferred. The money came in, everything paid. It was like a great feeling because I had lived paycheck to paycheck my whole life. And I was in a place now where things were automatically paying themselves. It was great. Then we had a big recession. It hit at the end of 2008, went through 2010. And I'm sure you guys experienced it too. And I was laid off from my dream job along with my wife. We were laid off together. It was really exciting times. And a lot of our friends, we were all laid off. And so suddenly it was like, oh my gosh, what am I going to do? I had all my identity wrapped up in this job that I loved. Now I had to figure out what I was going to do. And, you know, I did find another job. I didn't think about entrepreneurship. Get a job, right? That's the way to go. So, but I did find another job. Now, here's what happened. I had to work harder and get paid less for the new job. Can you guys relate? But I was grateful to have one. Work harder and get paid less. It meant there was no more $500 going into the savings account. In fact, it was the opposite way. It was $500 coming out of the savings account to make ends meet each month. So we went through a lean time where we used all of our savings to live. And it just was kind of like a feeling, a slow, what's the word, you guys, when like attrition. It was like slow attrition, right? And just kind of falling behind, that feeling like, oh my gosh, falling behind, this sucks. And so when I found the opportunity in direct sales, I was like, yeah, I want to make $500 a month extra money. Psychologically, it was, I want to feel good about my finances again, right? And I remembered that $500 transfer, like that meant something emotionally, that extra money going somewhere meant something emotionally. Are you guys with me? So that's why the number 500 popped in my head. I wanted to get that feeling back that, okay, things are good and I've got this going to be put away and we're going to be okay. So it was really from a place of worrying about finances and getting to a place where I was free from that fear and worry. I didn't realize this though. I was just like, yeah, $500. Could I do that? Do you think I could make $500? They're like, and my buddy was like, yeah, totally. Like, great, sign me up. Okay. Next question. What would achieving this mean to you and your family? What would achieving this mean to you and your family? Okay, so this is where you get into the examining of belly lint, uncomfortable type questions, right? What would this mean to you and your family? So I was like, what do you mean? $500 a month? What do you mean? What would it mean? But I started thinking about it and I was like, this is where I had that epiphany, like, oh my gosh, that would mean saving again, right? That would mean saving again, which is something we hadn't done. At this point, it had been almost 2 years we hadn't saved. And then, so, okay, great. So this would mean a lot if we could start saving. Now, the next thing I thought was that if I kept saving, we could actually maybe even buy a new home. So I had in my mind this goal to get a new home. How many of you, that's one of your goals? And so my wife and I, when we got married, she had a little boy that was hers from a previous relationship. So there was the three of us. We had this great home. It was a really beautiful house. But then we started having more kids and we quickly outgrew our space, right? We were on top of each other. How many of you guys have small kids and seriously, you can't take a step without stepping on toys or, you know, their stuff, right? It's like, you got the play kitchen. My daughter has like 15 baby strollers that she's always pushing around. You've got the, you know, so that it's just like, you can't be serious sometimes about building a business in that environment. So I was starting to dream about, hey, you know, I want to build my own business. I want to be an entrepreneur. I want to work from home because I want to be around my family more. I was missing my family, even though I had this new job. I had to work so many hours. This guy I worked for was a maniac. He was just like, he used to call me and be like, where are you going? When I was pulling out of the parking lot, he'd call me from his office, go, you're leaving? It's only 6 o'clock. I'm like, we close at 5, dude, get off my back. So it was just like, I was missing my family. I was always working. I wasn't seeing them. I wanted to be around them. I wanted to just be home, have my own business, right? And have the freedom to be with my family, not be super stressed about money. And I was like, oh my gosh, I need a bigger house to do this. There's no place for me to have an office, right? And I started dreaming about this house. I started driving. Have you guys ever done this where you drive through the neighborhood and you look at the houses that are bigger than yours and go, yeah, that's the one I want, And I wasn't dreaming big. I wasn't like thinking I'm going to have this dream home. I do this because I actually live in my dream home. God has been good to us. I thought I'm just going to move 3 houses down to the larger floor plan that has 2 more bedrooms, right? Because I lived in tract homes, it was like 2-bedroom house, 3-bedroom house, 4-bedroom house, 2-bedroom house, 3-bedroom house, 4-bedroom house, right? It was just like cookie cutters. I was like, I just want to get up to that bigger one, have an extra bedroom so I could have an office. But I started thinking about that. It was really hard to imagine a new house because we were $150,000 upside down on our mortgage. So that means, for those of you that have never been in that situation, that means our mortgage was higher than what the house would sell for. So we couldn't, that's just what happens when you have like a crash. So we owed all this money. And if we sold our house, we'd have to write a check for $150,000 to sell it. So there was no chance of moving. But I was like, you know what, if I could just put this $500 in the bank long enough, we could build some capital momentum and maybe we could get a new home someday, right? So I was thinking about that. And then I got to this last question. Why is that meaningful? How does this make you feel? And you may need to go through these questions a few times to get deep enough, right, you guys? But when I started thinking about buying a new home, meaningful, it was one of those things where I was like, oh, it's not meaningful. It's just materialism, right? It's just, I want a bigger house. And why, I started feeling guilty for the goal. Have you guys ever felt guilty for a materialistic goal? You're just like, maybe this is a selfish goal, right? It's not important. What's important is I have this amazing family. Why am I complaining about my house? And here's what I realized, really thinking about this. I realized that the home was symbolic. Yes, I wanted a nicer house. We all do. But it was symbolic. It was home symbolized family. And this was a subconscious thing going on in my mind. It was, I knew things weren't right with my family. I could feel the tension that I wasn't around my kids enough, that I wasn't around my wife enough, that I was working too many hours for too little money. Does this make sense? And so what I really was yearning for wasn't just a new house, but it was a new life with my family. And when I went through this process, literally this was 10, 15 minutes, you guys. It took me longer to explain it than it will take you to think it through. I realized I'm not in this for a little bit of extra money. I'm in this for a new life. Right? And this will take you guys from a side hustle to your life's purpose. Here's what happened for me when I went through this process. Even though I only had an hour a day to commit to my business, it became my main focus. My job, which required 10 to 12 hours a day, became my side hustle. How many of you guys have a job currently where you, yeah. So if you're serious about this business, that job is now your side hustle. Yeah, it takes more hours, but bless your job, bless your boss, even if he's a big jerk like mine was, for financing your dreams, because your job is financing your dreams right now. Does that make sense? Don't think of it as paying your bills. Think of it as financing your dreams. It's like having an investor. Your employer is investing in your business so you can be free of that employer eventually. Okay. So this is a huge thing. And so I went through this process and I created my first why statement. And when you go through this process, you guys, it's going to be like notes and messy and bullet points. You went through like who's the most important to you? What's the most important to you, in that thought process set up. So you're going to have some epiphanies and some ahas. And then I want you to write out a statement that articulates your why. And I'm going to share with you my why statement that I wrote in 2015 when I went through this process, which was, my why was to create a life where I never have to worry about money again. I enjoy quality time with my family, and I'm present for my children on a daily basis. I'm healthy and full of energy. So this was the statement I wrote that day. I went from, yeah, let me share this to make a little bit of extra money, to this. And this why statement convicted me. And for those of you guys that aren't used to that term, I didn't go to prison. It convicted me emotionally. I was committed now to this why, to making it real. And on days when I didn't feel like doing my teamsy, it didn't feel like connecting with people, I had to ask myself the question, do I want to stay where I am, worried about money? Do I want to stay where I am, not present in my family's life, full of dread and exhausted all the time? Or do I want to move in the direction of making this why a reality, right? And when you kind of hold up that, okay, 30 minutes in Teamsy and I'm done, I can feel good about moving in the right direction today. Let's just get it done. Are you guys with me? So this is a really important process we all need to go through. And then here's the great news. In 2017, I looked at this and said, this why that really motivated me to get moving 2 years ago. This is just a Tuesday morning now, right? This is my life. And now I need to do this again and go deeper again. So that's why this is a process we repeat, because you are going to make your why real. And then you need to go deeper with your why. So there are stages in life that we go through. And I had a mentor who used to talk about the stages of growth. The first one is survival. By the way, don't worry, you don't have to do anything. You're already there. If you're on this call, you're at least at survival, right? So we all start at survival, which is kind of our baseline, where we have this realization we want more from life. The next level would be stability. So we grow and we stretch to a level of stability, right? And then stability, once we get to stability, we can leverage that to get to a level of success. And then when we've experienced success, it's very different. It's like the blinders come off of us and we start to dream much bigger, right? And that's where we work towards a life of significance. So it's survival, stability, success, significance. Those are the stages of growth. But I want to warn you guys that what happens is when you get to success, it becomes stability. So the significance thing is hard to get to. We get there, we'll get little pieces of it as we go, but your success always tends to get to stability, right? So it's like you buy a big house, now you have a big mortgage payment, right? You're back to where you were. So you got to get to that next level of growth. We're always growing, and your why is going to change at every step. But if you change your goals and don't upgrade your why, you lose the power. You lose the energy and the drive, right? It becomes empty. It's like, what's the point, right? What's the point? If you guys ever, I don't know if you guys are folks who have spent much time in the Bible, but in Proverbs, Solomon, who was the richest man who ever lived, he asks the question, like, what's the point? I've done everything under the sun. It's meaningless. What's the point to it, right? Because he had lost track of his why. So this is where we need to understand this, right? The why is what roots us to our goals. The why is what keeps us driving forward. Okay, so you guys get the process. So just keep in mind as you write your why statement that this is your manifesto to get you out of bed every morning, to go boldly after your goals, right? So Zig Ziglar, how many of you have heard of Zig Ziglar? I know you guys are like, which is impressive because you guys are like the young dynamic group. Zig Ziglar he's no longer with us and he was very old when he left, right? So this is like, Zig Ziglar's like the people that our grandparents listened to. But Zig Ziglar was an amazing, amazing man. I had the opportunity to meet him a few times. Just a really, really cool guy. So if you guys want some good personal growth materials, go get on your computer and go get some Zig Ziglar audios or read one of his books. It's all about positive thinking, but he used to talk about this. He used to talk about this affirmation that he would do, which, by the way, this is so corny, you guys, but it works. Is when you wake up in the morning. You ever wake up in the morning and you're just like, oh, I just want to snooze another 10 minutes, right? So when you wake up in the morning, instead, really look forward to planting your feet on the ground. So it's like you swing your feet out of bed, plant them on the ground, and say, today's going to be a great day, right? This was something I learned from Zig Ziglar. Today's going to be a great day. You'll feel super corny, but it's going to change your attitude for the whole day. Okay, today's going to be a great day. My wife would be like, shut up. I'm trying to sleep, right? Today is going to be a great day. And if you have your why statement, then you'll have a reason, something to get to do that for and to swing your feet and get ready for the day. Okay, are you guys with me? All right. So let me give you some action steps on this. Here we go. The first thing is, once you get your why statement written out, I want you to add it to your Teamsy dashboard. There's a spot where you log it there, and it's there every time you log in. And I want you to read it out loud, where other people can hear it before each power hour. It's going to be real easy if you're alone. You know, your pets will look at you and think you're weird, but that's okay. But if your spouse or significant other or kids are in the room, it's okay if you feel corny, because here's what I want you guys to understand. Your subconscious mind is a powerful engine in life. It will hold you back or it will drive you to your dreams. So it needs to constantly hear these things. It needs to hear it. Your subconscious is absorbing information from everywhere around you. You know, it's like, you know, like if you, even if your musical tastes, like if your musical tastes are like angsty songs, passionate songs about pain and heartbreak, like you need to adjust that a little bit, you guys, because that's programming your self-conscious, right? So this is so important, but saying your why out loud is really powerful. It's really powerful for getting you subconsciously aligned with it. On a side note about the music, here's what I recommend you guys do. This was a huge turning point for me years ago. Was I created a playlist back on my iPod. Remember the iPods? So on my iPod, I created a playlist. It was called the Feeling Good playlist. It was 100 songs that made me feel great. And I used to play those to start my day. I would start it in the morning when I was getting ready. I had it in my car. This was during the recession when I was going to my job. I wasn't excited about, you know, and I would play. Picture me in my Mustang with the top down. And the other thing I forced myself to do was to sing with the music. So I'd be at the stoplight. I'd be the guy at the stoplight singing. You could hear me. It wasn't sounding that great, but I was enjoying my life. People get a lot of smiles from people. It was great. So, you know, get yourself out of your comfort zone wherever you can, but start out by reading that why out loud. Okay. Next place I recommend you post it is on your bathroom mirror. On your bathroom mirror. You guys look great, so I know that you get in front of that mirror, right? So the bathroom mirror is a place I know you're going to spend some time in the morning and in the evening. And so when you're there doing what you're doing, you're just going to look over at it. I mean, it just could be a sticky note. It doesn't have to be fancy, but you're going to be there and you're going to see that why. And I want you to read it. Now, out loud is the best, but at least read it to yourself. Okay. It's because you have to have it, really has to be in your face a lot or you'll drift away from it. Are you with me? Bathroom mirror. Actually, I didn't put this on the list, but another spot is in your car. If you drive a lot, you stick it on the dashboard of your car. Okay. All right. Don't read it while you're in traffic. Just read it when you get in, right? My why is the, okay. You guys already drive on the wrong side of the road and stuff. It's confusing enough. Okay. Share your why with family members. Share your why with family members. Okay, share it with them. It becomes more real when you share it. Just a little funny note, years ago, I was on a business trip to Ireland, and it was my first time driving on the opposite side. I won't say wrong side, on the opposite side. So I go to rent a car and, you know, here in the States, it's very rare to have stick shifts, right? But all the rentals were stick shifts. There was no automatic transmissions. So I drive a stick shift. My Mustang's a stick shift, so I know how to drive stick shift. But so I get this car and it's a stick shift, and I have to shift with my left hand. You talk about, that thing where you like have to do something different. I had to shift with my left hand. Pedals were in different spots. It was crazy. You have to get in your head. But sometimes growth is like that. You have to get in your head. It's not it's no longer an auto response, right? We have to reprogram our thinking and do it differently. Okay. Share your why with your upline and your team. This is going to require a little bit of vulnerability, a little bit of transparency. Okay. You may not be accustomed to sharing emotional things like this with people, but if you want to lead, this is why I love Beck so much, even though we don't know each other that well. But what I know I love is that she leads authentically. She's not afraid to get vulnerable with you guys. And so this is important. So you got to share that why with people. Your upline needs to know, because they're going to hold you accountable to it. And so does your team. So I want you guys to think about this. Allow your leaders to help and lead you. And then in the other direction, you need to lead your team. And you do it by letting them know why you're here. Make sense? This is why every time, this presentation, I don't think has it, but most of my presentations have a picture of my family in one of the first slides as I'm introducing myself. Why? I need you guys to know my why. Why am I taking time out? Why am I getting up at 3 a.m. to talk to you guys? I do love you guys, but there's more to it than just that, right? It's, I've got things I want to get done for my family. Helping you guys gets me there, right? Okay. Next, and I mentioned this, review your why annually. Review your why annually. And I already mentioned this in kind of the preamble to this presentation. I think November is the best time to do it, but whenever you can do it, right? You guys know I've been in the consulting coaching game for a long time. I do have some clients that I've had for years and years and years that I still work with. They're like family, right? But I think of this one team, they're husband and wife team. They work together. They own this beautiful boutique real estate brokerage in Los Angeles. They do a lot of real estate through that little, it's like, do you guys ever see that show Selling Sunset? It's kind of like, yes, but it's kind of like that without the drama and the weirdness. It's just like good people doing the job, selling a lot of real estate. So they're kind of like that. But one thing I love about them, their name's Barb and Harold. They always laugh because they're young people. And they're like, we have old people names, Barb and Harold. They're like, but they're young folks. Okay. So they do a weekend getaway once a year, the two of them, and they redo their why and their goals for the year. And it's just a, because they've got kids, but it's just a great traditional thing that they've done for at least the last 10 years that I've worked with them. They've always done that, which is so cool. And then we have a call when they come back and they share what they've done. Here's our new why. They share it with us, right? Like, so it's my business partner and I, we coach them together. So they're like, here's what we came up with. And it's like they're laying their lives bare for us because we helped them get there. Does that make sense? So you guys may need to do that. You may need to, let's start with, you guys spent some time tonight, maybe put aside a little bit of time to really reflect on this today or tomorrow, because your day's ending tomorrow. Think about it right before you go to sleep. So let your mind work on it while you sleep, but maybe set aside some time soon to really get away and reflect, even if it's just an hour to go do something like sit at the pool or take a walk somewhere beautiful with your notepad and just kind of reflect a little, right? It's going to be a great way to get yourself out of your day and really think about this. So make sure that you do, if you go through this process, you guys, and create these layers of accountability, your Teamsy dashboard, your mirror, maybe the dashboard of your car, your family member. How many of you have small children? Small children? Get your small children holding you accountable to your why. Oh my gosh, because you can't say no, right? So my son Cruz, I mentioned he's 12, but when I was doing this in 2015, he was only like 4 or 5, right? And don't make me do the math. I think that's about right. And so he was just this sweetest little thing. And I used to have him ask me, Daddy, did you do your power hour today? And I'd be like, dang, I gotta go do it now, don't I? Did you do your power hour today? This little, you know how kids have like those 2-inch long eyelashes. They're so cute. It's like, I'm going to do it now. Cause I mean, he didn't have to read my why to me. He was the personification of it, right? He would walk, him asking me was just like, okay, I'm going to go do it. I'm just going to do it right now. By the way, I didn't tell you guys this, but when I went through this process in 2015 and decided I needed the house and whatnot, I knew I wasn't going to get that house right away. So I bought a shed. Did you guys know about my shed? Okay, so hold on a second. This is one. We'll do Q&A in a second. Dang, you guys are going crazy in the chat. Okay, let me just find this picture really quick. This is going to be fun. That's one, but there's another one. Let's see here. Shed quarters, maybe that's what I called the picture. All right, well, I found one picture. I'm looking for another one, but here's one with my business partner Mike Lopez and I having a meeting in my shed. Okay, so just so you guys know, like, you can dream big and go for it. Here it is. You guys see this shot right here? So I got a shed, like, like from the Home Depot. And it's people put their lawnmowers and stuff in the shed. I made it an office. I put it in my backyard because I had no room in my house. It was my own little space. It was about the same size as a cubicle in an office, right? And I put a homemade desk out there. My son Cruz and I built it. We went and bought an old door at the salvage yard, and I made it into a desk. And I put a computer out there. I ran an extension cord, drilled a hole in the wall, put the extension cord through the wall, then filled it in with foam, right? So I had this office, and it was hot and sweaty, and it was freezing cold. It was never in between. It was never comfortable. I had a giant whiteboard, which you guys can see in the background, that was made out of, it was made out of the board that you put behind tile when you do like a bathroom. Like, so it was just like DIY office, right? And that's where I started my business, out in the shed. And this particular meeting here where Mike came over, I don't know if you can see what's written on the whiteboard, but I was giving him this idea for a concept called Teamsy. I wanted him to partner with me on. And so he came out to my shed, and he was, this guy was my boss for many years. So he was like, cool. Oh, cool. You built a office in the backyard. I love it. And that was where I started my business. I didn't have a fancy office for years. Okay. There came a point where I was like, oh, are people going to take me seriously if I'm doing Zooms from the backyard shed? Right. As I was building my business, I fell into that trap of like, oh man, I need to be more impressive than this, but you are where you are. It doesn't matter. Your current circumstances don't define who you are, where you're headed to. Right. So I want you guys to be encouraged by that. I actually, when I left my job, I was so ready to leave this job and start my own thing. I had written my letter of resignation. I was ready to do it. I talked to my wife. I said, we're going to do it. We're going to burn the ships. I'm going to commit to this business. It's going to be great. And then my boss came in and he was acting weird. And I'm like, oh my gosh, she's going to let me go. And have you ever been excited to be let go? Because when they let you go, they send you with money, right? They say, thanks for your time. Here's a little check. So I was like, this is going to be great. So I got just enough money to buy a new Mac and to buy my shed. And I was like, this is great. Thank you. So, and I got an employment for a little while. So, it was a blessing. But yeah, that's where we started, was the shed. And I wish I still had it. When we sold our house, they got the shed. I wish I had taken it with us. We used to joke like, we should have craned it out of here and kept it. Someday it'll be in the foyer of our office, right? You walk in and you can go in the shed. But I hope that's encouraging to you guys, because going from literally in one day from let's make some extra money to I'm fully committed, let's build the business and let's do it. And, you know, for me, that first year was financially difficult. Just going to be honest with you guys. It was a stretch that first year. It was financially difficult. The second year, I made double my salary. Okay. So, you know, you just got to get in there and be committed, have your why and keep it clear and go for it daily. And you can do it. Right. And you can do it. So hopefully that's encouraging. Now, here's what we're going to do. If you guys have some questions or ahas or things you want to share, things that resonated with you, I want to give you guys a chance to do that while I'm here. And all you have to do, because you are grown people, is you can unmute yourself and ask away.
It looks like everyone is content. It looks like, but it's funny that you were talking about that shed, because I remember when I first started Teamsy in 2018, your videos were in that shed. I think you painted it like a navy blue at one point, and you had like the Teamsy light. But I remember it was from that shed all those years ago. Yeah.
And it was hot. Well, where I live is kind of like where most of you live. The weather's really nice. It doesn't get too crazy hot, doesn't get too crazy cold, but it's still, when you live in a place like that, you become a wimp. So if it's below 60, well, we're Fahrenheit. I don't know why. We're the rebels, you know, 65 degrees, it's freezing cold. And if it's 80 degrees, we're dying of heat. Like, we're just really spoiled. So yeah, I used to do these team calls and I'd be sweating, you guys. And I used to go, this is the sweat of passion. You guys need to be passionate like this. And it was just like, you know, that's what you got to do. I couldn't turn the fan. I had fans, but they were loud. I couldn't turn them on while doing a Zoom because it was like, so, you know,
no.
That's it.
Goodness. Well, thank you so much for dedicating your time to us and for showing up at crazy o'clock for us and to help us get into momentum. We really, really appreciate you. The chat is wild, and this has been great. And this has been something that we've all said, we just want to keep you with us. We just want to like keep you to ourselves. Your voice is soothing. You bring the best stories. Like, can you be an honorary team member?
I love it. I love it. Well, I hope it's brought value for you guys. You know, this is the last call that we have scheduled, but this won't be the last time you hear from me. I really appreciate what you guys are doing. I appreciate your leadership, leading by example. You know, of course, for me, setting out to launch Teamsy was a passion project because I was just really kind of appalled and disgusted by how our industry had been led in the past by so many people with that kind of selfish approach. I wanted people to understand how effective building real authentic relationships is, and that they don't need to try to do some of that other stuff that to me didn't feel right. So it became they laughed at me. I mean, like, I don't know if you guys want to hear the story. So I'll just tell the story. Is it okay? We have a minute. Let me tell you the story. So here's my story. I did Beachbody. So some of you guys know the story. You guys are familiar with Beachbody? So it's like workouts, nutritional shakes and stuff. So I did Beachbody. And when I started my business, I never even really read the comp plan. I didn't understand how it worked and like how volume worked. This actually bit me in the behind at first, because I was like, oh, I built my team wrong. I didn't build the volume the right way, right? But I was just excited, sharing the business, connecting with people I knew, and I started signing people up. So my very first month, I ranked up to a leadership position, like my second week, and it would have been like, probably in Juice Plus, it would have been like sales coordinator, right? Like, so it happened really fast. And I had signed up 12 people on my team, right? So to be coaches by my second week. And so then I got promoted to this leadership position, and Beachbody Corporate called me and said, congratulations, achieving your first leadership role. we're now going to support you. So you've gotten to the level where you get support from corporate. I was like, oh, cool. You're right. And this guy's name was Joe. And he's actually still a friend of mine because Joe, after Teamsy took off, Joe kept getting hired by different network marketing companies as their training guy. And every time he was like, you guys need to use Teamsy. So because of this guy, Joe, this is a side note, but because of Joe, I ended up introducing Teamsy to like 6 networks. Okay, but I digress. So Joe says, we're going to be on a Zoom. It's everybody in the Southwestern United States at this level. There's 23 of you. You guys are going to be on the Zoom. We're going to mastermind. It's going to be, I go, this is awesome. So I come into this group, all these people, mostly women. Actually, I think they were all women except for me, knew what they were doing. They knew the comp plan. They'd been doing it for years. They knew what they were doing. They were super like this. They were all about it. I was kind of clueless, right? I was kind of clueless. As far as Beachbody went, I had already 15 years experience as a business coach and consultant working with all kinds of business leaders on relationship marketing. I had that experience, but I didn't really know the business. So they come in and they are already in a cycle of meeting, and they had this Word doc, which were all the training. Everybody had to take a training and prepare it for the group. Right. So each time we Zoom, somebody would teach on a top topic and share their insights, and everyone would learn from it. So we come into this group and they said, we're going to do, Eric, you need to pick a topic. I looked, they were all picked except for recruiting. Nobody wanted to touch recruiting. So I was like, okay, I'll take recruiting. It's like 3 weeks from now. In the meantime, they were having a go for no challenge. They're like, we're doing a go for no challenge. And I'm like, what's that? And they're like, oh, it's awesome. You're just going to message everybody, and most of them are not going to be interested. That's the no. You're just going to go through, you're going to get a lot of rejection, but it's all good, Eric, because somebody will say yes and you'll be off to the races. I'm like, so you want me to message everybody I know to force them to reject me, hoping that my grandma or somebody will buy, right? Okay. No, I'm not going to do that. So we started doing the Go for No challenge, and everyone's all excited about it. Guess who won the Go for No challenge? I won it. Did I go for no? No, I did not go for no. So coming into my training for recruiting, everyone was like, couldn't wait to hear from the new guy who won the Go for No challenge. And he's only been in a few weeks and he's done all this. And oh my gosh, what's he going to say to us? And I started by saying, by the way, I didn't go for no. That's the stupidest thing I've ever heard of, right? And I didn't say it like that. I was a little nicer, but I was like, I would never do that. Why? It goes against who I am. It's not effective. I'm going to talk to you guys about building relationships. So I started talking about recruiting. The best way to recruit is to get introduced to new people. And I explained how the relationship building process gets you introduced to new people. And you can do this. You can actually plan for how many introductions you'll generate by being focused on these activities, which ended up becoming Teamsy down the road, right? And literally people laughed. Like it was so outside of the box of what they were used to doing that they couldn't contain it, right? And I was like, oh my gosh, maybe these people really aren't ready for this. I've presented this concept to so many business leaders over the years. They paid me good money to present this, and here these people are laughing at me, right? So that was the end. And then it was like, I got off the call and I was like, oh man, that was weird. And then I got text from 3 people who were like, that was the best training I've ever heard in my life. And they became lifelong friends, and first three people that got a link to try Teamsy, right? But a few people got it. But I was like, we've got to change this approach to this business because it's got good people going bad. You know what I mean? Like it was just like people were getting crushed. How many of you guys, like seriously, a few good rejections and your day is pretty much shot, right? It's like hard to recover from that. And that's me. Like I don't like that feeling, and I want to avoid it. My wife always teases me. She's like, you hate confrontation. I go, well, I especially hate it with you, my wife. I hate my confrontation with my wife because I love her the most. So it's the hardest, right? I want things to be cool with her. But, I hate confrontation. And so I always tease people, the relationship marketing system is just built so that I don't have to have confrontation and can just be successful, but it works for all of us, right? So, you know, it may be countercultural. Sometimes you may go into places where people are like, this is what you do. Yeah. And it works great. Does that make sense? So don't be afraid if people laugh at you. I don't mind. The truth is I can't remember any of their names, the ones that laughed at me. They're way back in the rearview mirror. Does that make sense? But the ones that reach out to me, I remember them. We're in touch. I'm with them. I've trained their teams. You know, I've trained their teams many times. We've become friends over the years. But so there's the story on that. But that really convicted me. Oh my gosh, we need to get in here and change this industry. It became kind of a fun mission to try to change the industry. And then, of course, with Juice Plus, it's been amazing because Juice Plus Corporate understood what we were doing and brought us in and introduced us to the company in a way that we were able to reach people, because there's a lot of people who are like, oh, Juice Plus Corporate says I should listen to you, Eric. So what do you have to say? So it gave me an opportunity to talk to a lot more people, if that makes sense. So, okay, that's it. I won't talk anymore. I'll send you guys back on your way, crawl back under my covers. Any last thoughts from anyone?
Thank you. We appreciate you. We appreciate
All right, you guys.
so much.
Have an awesome rest of your evening. And then tomorrow, your action step is to get after getting this why statement put together. Okay. All right. God bless you guys. Have a great night. We'll talk to you soon.
Thanks, Eric. Bye, guys.
Bye, everyone.